Hello everyone, my name is Roya and today I'm going to be telling you all about the worst book that I've read this year. This is a book that is extremely hyped right now. It just came out on August 23rd. I won an ARC of this in a giveaway several months ago and I was really excited to read it. I didn't really know how hyped it was. I was not familiar with the book having gone viral on TikTok or anything like that. And that book is Lightlark by Alex Astor. So if you are not familiar with the controversy surrounding the author in this book and how she basically said that things were in this book that weren't, and she misled people about kind of her story about publishing this book and all of that as well, you should definitely check out Reads with Rachel's video all about that. She did a lot of research into exactly what is going on with that. But yeah, I was not familiar with any of that. I just, I started reading this book and suddenly everyone was talking about it and talking about the author and all of this stuff that was just really weird. And so I was totally not even familiar with that. So I'm not even going to necessarily go into that in this video at all. I am just going to point you in the direction of Rachel's video because I definitely do recommend watching that. It's definitely really funny and weird and all of that, the types of things that have gone on with this book. But basically, I'm just going to talk about how epically bad I felt like this book was. So for the record, I gave it 2 stars, and that is a really low rating for me, especially for a book that doesn't actually have any sort of problematic or offensive content in it, because usually I reserve 2 and 1 star ratings for books like that either I have a particular huge issue with the way something was handled in the book, or whether it's just totally insensitive. But this book didn't have any sort of problematic elements at all. I mean, I did have some issues with some of the things in the book, but for the most part, it was just so bad that it almost isn't even worth reading. So I read it so that you don't have to. So this book is about a girl named Isla who who is the ruler of one of 6 different realms of this kingdom, where each realm is cursed. They all have different curses kind of going on. For instance, one of them, they drop dead at the age of 25. So their population is really dwindling because, very few people have time to have kids or anything. And another one of them can't go outside during the day or they'll just burn up and die. All of that. They each have like a different curse going on. And every 100 years there is a competition but for the rulers to compete with each other, and one of them has to die, and they kind of have to like pick which one will die in order for the other ones to break their curses, because if any of the rulers die, so does their whole, like, all their people, basically. So why does this happen only every 100 years? I don't know. Why is this, why is any of this the way it is? I don't know, because there was very little world building in this book, but I'll get to that in a second. So firstly, even in the first couple pages, the first thing that really stood out to me about this book is that we kind of just get introduced to people, and people get name dropped as well, who we don't know. Well, like we haven't been in any way shown who they are, or what their relationship to each other is. So the main character, like in her first person narration, says something about, a couple of different people, and we don't know who they are. It turns out that they're her attendants and whatnot, but like we don't, it's not said in any way or shown to us whatsoever who these people are. So I was kind of thinking, like, is that her sister? Is that, like, it doesn't make any sense. And then furthermore, we don't even necessarily know, like, it takes a couple chapters to really glean who the main character even is in this, in the context of this book. So it was just really weird. It really read like a first draft where the author kind of thinks that something is clear to the reader when it's not, just because it's clear to the author. It really read like she probably thought it was clear enough because she understood the context when that was not the case. So I think that like that, among other things, really made it seem like this book was either totally like a first draft and not edited enough, or it was edited to the point where like the whole plot was changed and all of that. And I'm guessing it was probably the latter, to be honest, seeing as this book was picked up by a publisher on TikTok, and all of that. And it's not her debut either, but it's her debut YA. So it seems like probably once it was picked up by a publisher, they like really edited the crap out of the entire plot to make it fit a certain thing. And then also the characters have no personalities at all. They're completely flat. Everything we know about their personalities is just told to us. We don't actually see it shown in who the characters are. And this book like relies so much on twists, and like it has the surprise villain trope, which you all probably know by now that I really, really dislike intensely. But besides just that, there are so many instances where something a character does is like a huge twist, where it comes out of nowhere and it's supposed to be totally unexpected. But when the characters have no personalities, it's not really a twist. It's kind of just, because we don't know if that seems, because a twist in like a character doing something unexpected is supposed to either go against what we know of their character, or it's supposed to make us go, oh, that makes sense with what they were doing before, or whatever it is. But neither of those things happened in this, because the characters have zero personality. Zero. And so we're told that like the main character, for instance, is like such a wild temptress, and she's extremely beautiful and blah blah blah, but she has no personality. So all we know is that she wears gorgeous dresses and it's just shoved down our throat how beautiful she is. And that's another thing that I really, really intensely dislike every time I read a book where the main character especially, is so overwhelmingly beautiful. Like she looks like a supermodel. Well, this book didn't say that, but I have read books where that did say that. But this book basically said like it really shoved down our throats how beautiful the main character is, and I got so incredibly sick of it because there was no like reason for that. It just made absolutely no sense. And then she's also like a really good fighter, and she's so good at everything, and just everything that she does it perfectly. And I just got super, super sick of that real fast. And then this whole story is completely riddled with plot holes as well. Magical things, either abilities or devices that only one person has, that don't make sense in the context of this book, and that's numerous different aspects of this story where that's the case. And there's no reason, because typically in the world building of a story, everything that happens in it, everything that is either an object or an ability or whatever it is, has to have some sort of origin, some sort of reason why it's magical, or if only one person has it, there has to be a reason why. Because really it's supposed to be like there's, anything that's magical, or if it were a sci-fi technologically advanced, it should be something readily available to everyone in the book. Otherwise, it makes absolutely no sense for like just one person to have that, and then that's where the story really falls apart. So the fact that there were just numerous instances of something that a character has being something only they have, and it has no origin in the world at all, just really took me out of the story completely. And it's not just magical objects or abilities or anything where that's the case. There are just plot holes everywhere with regards to the world building especially. So for example, the main character is the only one who has a last name at all. So we don't know why she's the only one with a last name, why that's her last name. Like, did Isla Crown just sound like a cool name and that's just why that's her name? Because no one else in the whole book has a last name. So what is the origin of her last name? Why Why is that something, you know, what's the story behind last names in this world? Do people have them, or is it literally just her, you know, and why? Like, none of that, you know, we don't get an explanation for any of that. And then, you know, like I mentioned, plot holes just abound all throughout the story the whole time. Nothing is explained. And I don't really want to give away too many spoilers or anything like that, but for example, like probably the most prominent example of this, because there are countless examples of there being just plot holes everywhere. Um, but mainly, like, for example, one character is revealed to be a completely different person who's been impersonating one person for the entire book. And so that raises the question, what happened to the actual person? That's never explained. Or if there was no actual person for the person she had been impersonating, um, why, you know, why wouldn't anyone know that? Because it would be known who this person was the whole time. Like, it just didn't make any sense. I don't want to give away, I mean, I can't really explain more without giving away spoilers, but the entire time nothing made sense. There were magical things that happened, like magical abilities that were used once and then never again, with no explanation for how that was possible, like where. And so basically, this overall, this book, I mean, yes, no, not everything magical has to have an explanation. Magic does need to have some room to just be magic, but the fact that there were just everything in this book was something overly convenient that just had no context in the rest of the story at all. Just really frustrated me and made for a very poor story. So those are my thoughts on Lightlark. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was terrible. Honestly, I'm no offense meant. I mean, there's nothing like offensive or problematic or anything I had a huge issue with, other than the fact that, like, I really do not like the surprise villain trope. I think it's really weak no matter how it's done, for the most part. And then also, I just can't stand it when the main character is so overwhelmingly beautiful that it gets shoved down our throats how beautiful she is at every turn, all of that. Like, I just can't stand that stuff. But aside from that, like, really just this book was just plain bad. There was nothing worth reading about it. And I mean, sure, books definitely do not have to have any sort of moral of the story or any sort of actual, like, commentary on society as a whole or anything like that. It doesn't have to have a profound statement, nothing like that. But the fact that this book was, like, it had absolutely no reason to read it, combined with the fact that the world building and the storytelling was just so poor, really made me, I mean, I do not recommend this book. That does not mean that you shouldn't read it. That does not mean that you might not like it. But either way, I hope that you got something out of this video, whether it encourages you to read it or discourages you from reading it, or if you weren't even thinking about reading it at all and you just wanted to see a somewhat amusing review. I don't know. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are on it, if you've read it, or if you're thinking about reading it, thinking about not reading it, any of that. Just leave your thoughts in the comments, and also let me know what the worst book is that you've read this year, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!